Hello, fellow Supermom. I'm glad you're here. In this episode, I will share some practical tools you can use to talk about something big like war with your special needs child. In my last episode, I talked about the importance of why and how you should talk about war with your child, especially your anxious and special needs child. You know, our kids are way smarter, notice way more than we realize, even the little ones. And if you dismiss them or hide stuff from them, they know there's something going on. And keeping them in the dark is the best way to feed that fear. So, in the last episode, I talked about, the how and why. And I shared one tool we used, the globe, in our talk about, where Ukraine is and how far it is. And it kind of helped grasp Wonder Boy, not the situation itself, but how far it is. And maybe it was useful for you as well. But I got some questions from especially moms with younger kids, if I had more tools to talk about something as big as war. So hereby some tools I used myself when my kids were younger, but also tools and tips I got from listeners. So thank you for that. Most important, before you even start thinking about tools, is of course, noticing your kids, listening. What are they dealing with? And with that, there are 5 tools I find really practical you can use to talk about emotions. So not only about big and scary things like a war, but also day-to-day feelings or grief or sadness or anger. So my first tip, coloring. Grab a piece of paper, grab your coloring pencils and let your kid draw its emotions. And it can be, with black and red lines and, anger or fear or tears. Let them first do that and then ask them, let them dream doodle, like I normally say. And with dream doodle, I mean, let them draw a world or a situation how they would like to see it. And it can be from, one scary drawing with war and bombs, and the other one with people holding hands and flowers. Just as simple as that. But especially if your kid is a little bit younger or is nonverbal, for instance, coloring, no matter the age, can really help. And don't be afraid to show your kid yourself, make a drawing yourself. It can be really reassuring for a kid if they see that, your head can be like a whirlwind as well. And how you would like to see things. Because it acknowledges their feelings. So, number 1, coloring. Number 2, clay. This was a tip. I already shared it in one of my lives on Instagram. This was a tip I got from a mom with a non-verbal kid that has anger issues. And she not specifically used this for war, but it really helped her son deal with his anger issues. And that was using clay. Well, number 1 was they use a punching bag nowadays in a separate room, designated area, and it really helped him. If he really is frustrated, he now knows I will go to that room to, blow off steam. But she also uses clay. And I thought this was a really nice and funny thing to do. She said we use colorful Play-Doh in all kinds of colors, and he can just make a ball, or he makes a funny figure. He makes a sculpture that matches his emotions, or sometimes a situation or a person. And it might sound a little bit weird, but after they clayed something, and that can already be fun because you make something hilarious and colorful. After that, he's allowed to smash them. I'm doing this. Grab a hammer and smash the little clay figures. Maybe sounds aggressive, but if you have a non-verbal kid with anger issues that normally tears down, the shelves on the wall and destroys his toys, this can actually be a great way to, still blow off steam, still let him give away to his anger and his emotions, but in a safer way, without, destroying actual toys or things in your household. So, thank you so much for this tip. Won't name her because she wanted to stay anonymous, but thank you for that tip. I thought it was really helpful. Number 3. And this is not specifically only war related, but I saw it worked really, really well for my kids in emotional, stressful situations. And that was the use of dolls and little figures, plush toys. You have a number of toys nowadays that are geared to expressing emotions. One of them is called, it's a new thing, my kids are way too old for this, but nowadays you have Emojis. There are Japanese-based plush toys with emotions on them. And you have all kinds of emotions. So smile, and anger, fear, and there are just plush toys in all kinds of shapes. Sometimes just a ball with a face, but they're soft and nice. And nowadays you even have, a mama cat with Emoji kittens with all kinds of emotions. And if your kid finds it really difficult to express their emotions or feels lonely, because a lot of the time, if you're dealing with something, you feel alone, it helps them, not only show how they feel about something, but also connect with that stuffed toy or, that plush toy. And saying that, feeling connected, Supergirl has an American Girl doll. In America, it's a big thing. You have dolls that, you can, how do you say this? Find a doll that looks like you. They come white, black, all kinds of colors, all kinds of hairstyles, historical figures and all, but also with attributes like a wheelchair or an injector pen. So when Supergirl had to go to the hospital when she was younger, she always brought her American Girl doll, and even her doll had a wheelchair. How cool was that? Because her doll was just like her. Sometimes her legs were on a holiday and she needed a wheelchair. And of course she got a lot of positive attention in the hospital if she came in with a little wheelchair with her doll. But what I found before the hospital visits, and especially afterwards, or when she was not doing well, I could hear her talk to her doll. And it was basically just processing what she was going through. And you could hear her say, oh, that's really painful. Oh, do you feel like that as well? But then, in a kid voice. And that her doll also had an injectable pen. Like her. How cool was that? So, sometimes you can see that when your kid has maybe a tea party for the dolls or plush animals, it can really help. So you have the Emoji dolls that really have an emotion on them. And nowadays you have those reversible octopuses as well. One side is happy, the other side, you turn it inside out, is angry. And I think they're great. All kinds of colors. Your kids can identify with them. It can really help them. I have coffee cups with faces on them. I've got the angry in the morning, don't talk to me coffee cup. I have the happy coffee cup. I really love those things. So that's the adult version maybe, perhaps, of it. So, and another great thing, we are a military family. And I think this came out of the military world. My kids had a mini dad. I once made my husband in a little tiny shape from fabric with military clothing on. And, it was a really tiny bald figure with only hair here. because my husband nowadays has no hair, but when my kids were smaller, had a tiny bit of hair here. So it was really their daddy with a smile on them. And when he was deployed, they talked to it, they cuddled it, they nurtured it. It really helped them feel a little bit of in control, and they felt that they can talk in their way to, their daddy, or, the American Girl doll. And nowadays, Supergirl has her emotional support squid, Walter. How do you come up with that? It's a squid or a character from Minecraft, and she uses it if she needs to set her medication, because it's quite painful to do, and she uses that, and it's like, it makes her smile. It's funny because she gave it an hilarious name. Stuffed animals, stuffed toys, plush toys, dolls can really be helpful. And for your kid to talk about its emotions, to express them, and via the doll. And with the emojis, the Japanese ones, with the faces on it. If they can't say it, it can be really helpful to just say, well, I feel like this. So, that was my third tip. Number 4, there are a gazillion books and movies nowadays about emotions. My number 1 tip by far is Inside Out. It's about a girl that suddenly moves with her parents from, somewhere up north in America to San Francisco. And, all kinds of emotions are involved with suddenly moving while you don't want to move. And in that movie, people have, it looks like a control board in their head. And there are 5 basic emotions. You have, probably say the names wrong, joy, fear, sadness, I think disgust, and anger. 5 little characters. And they're like in the control board in your brains. And it's hilarious. But it talks about the main emotion in that movie is maybe joy. And she desperately tries to, push away the sadness. Only try to be happy and don't talk about negative feelings. And you see what happens if you do that, when you don't talk about, feeling sad. And the hilarious part for parents is that they show the emotions of the mom and dad as well, and it's really recognizable. I burst into, I laugh every time I see it, because the dad really, when they're having dinner and the girl is angry about something, and the dad slams his wrist on the table saying, we're not talking about it, it's done. And you see the emotions in his head going, well, we resolved the issue. We put our fist on the table, ignore the rest. Yes, this was the solution. And you see all the characters in the mom's head going, no. But the mom, tries to over-talk about things and desperately. Anyway, great movie. Because we used it, me and my kids, to talk about our emotions. And what do you think the emotions are what are the main characters in your head? And my son said, well, I think fear is the main character in my head. And it made sense, because he was scared quite often about things. For Supergirl, it was anger and fear. And it also made sense. Anger because her body didn't work like normal kids, and fear because what will the future bring? So it's a great movie to start talking about emotions. What do you think are the main thingies in your head? Who's in the control board? Why is that? But there are so many books and movies out there. For army brats, there are most of the time specific books when the dad gets deployed. There are books about well, I think Winnie the Pooh is already a great example. You have the book and the movies, because all those characters have certain character traits and issues. I identify a lot with Tigger, the ADHD tiger bouncing around, but you also have what is its name? Piglet, quite anxious little pig. You have the donkey that deals with depression, but all those characters coexist, talk with each other, help each other. It can really make a difference. And I just wrote a children's book for really young kids with juvenile arthritis, because how do you explain feelings and a situation when you're really young? And storybooks, picture books, specifically geared to young kids, can be a great way, because in this example it's about a little monkey, and his legs don't want to play, and the monkey doesn't understand why. And in the end of the story, it's about, that sometimes his legs are taking a holiday or on a holiday. But it's on a children's level. So picture books, great tip as well. Number 5, take action. If you have a kid that really likes to do stuff, Wonder Boy was a kid like that. Even when he was 4 or 5, wanted to donate to good causes and things like that. Let them. Whether that's donating their pocket money or giving away a toy to a charity, wanting to sell lemonade outside or bake brownies and sell them for a charity, let them. One tip I would say, especially when you're talking about Ukraine at the moment, and you saw in the Netherlands a lot of people collecting stuff and bringing it to the Ukraine. But that country is at war. A lot of people are refugees. So it's a wonderful idea that you're collecting stuff. But often it's way better to donate money to a local charity that knows exactly what's needed on the ground there. Another thing can be let them write a letter. If they're want to write a letter to that angry man in Russia that's caused it, let them. It's not about that the letter will probably never reach its destination and it will resolve the war, but if it makes them feel that they can express their feelings, take action, help your kid with that. My last, I just came up with that, is the traffic light system. Is something quite known in the autism sector. The traffic light system is red, orange, yellow, green. Red being, really angry, really tired, can't deal with stuff. Green being, I'm doing fine. And, yellow, orange is already like, oh, we need to do something because otherwise the red zone will be reached. And you can print it out yourself. Nowadays you have them with smiley faces as well, and a kid can put it on their table or show it. They use it in classrooms as well to express their feelings or their needs. And a step further is the Emoji Flashcards you have nowadays for all kinds of levels. So really easy cards saying, with drawings of kids or animals saying that they need a hug or that they're angry, to more the upskill level for all the kids, asking questions. What would you do in this situation? What would you do? So those are my 5-6 examples. I really hope it helps you. Let your kid express their feelings, deal with their emotions. Look at your kid. There are so much out there. It can be overwhelming if you Google emotion toys in Amazon. There's so many hits. Don't overthink it. Look at your kid. What kind of type of kid do you have? What do they normally play with? Can you integrate something with that? And if you see all those options, look at the first 15. And then pick the one that appeals the most to you. And you think, well, this sounds like, it would really help my kids. Nowadays, there are even a lot of board games. Like, I have to look it up. it sounds so cool, but my kids are too old, so I can't justify buying it. The Emotions Detective Game and the Emotional Roller Coaster board game, and I saw some great reviews on those. So check it out. There are even books about really angry little unicorns nowadays that talk about emotions. So there's a lot of out there. Don't overthink it. Just start. Start with the coloring. Use dolls or stuffed animals. Check out if there are movies and or books. Clay can be a great one if you're stressed or you want to just squeeze something or smash something. It can be hilarious. Even Harry Potter in movie 2 did that. There was this one scene that there was this ghost and it would take on the shape of your worst fear, and that they had to ridiculize it, make it funny, and in that way conquer their fear. Clay is a great way to kind of use that. And number 5 was, take action. And always go back to the basics. The traffic light system can really help. I really hope this helps you talk with your kids about emotions and let them show that it's good that they show emotions. Don't dismiss it, and you can help them in any way. Of course, it depends on the age and the IQ and the kind of special needs your kid has, but there are so many tools out there. If you have a great thing you use as well, and I haven't mentioned it, please share it. Reach out to me on social media. You can find me on the Special Needs Supermom podcast, both on Instagram and Facebook. Let me know there, or send an email to the Special Needs Supermom podcast at gmail.com. If you find it useful, please share it so other moms can find this podcast as well and use it, and hopefully it helps them, with their kids. For now, I hope you have a great rest of the week. See you next time. Bye.